Holler if you hear me, and welcome to this edition of Luke Goes Postal, where we've got this on the way out to one of the supporters for my upcoming comic Encrypted. This is one of the 8.5 by 11 cardstock prints that will be funding the printing of issue 1, because I'm here focusing on what it is that the people expect of me with what my creative aspirations are. And really, that is something you don't see as much as it used to, although now we've got one shining beacon of someone in mainstream Hollywood who has become successful despite all of the socio-political impediments put in her way, versus somebody that played the game the way that every actress was expected to under the reign of terror of Harvey, and now has been suffering the consequences of not having Harvey engineering your stardom anymore, and also being the kind of self-important idiot that thinks you can do or say whatever you want, even if you hilariously contradict yourself in a way that can only be described as a woman moment. I'm of course referring to both Sydney Sweeney in the masterclass of slapping down a conniving, attention-hungry, vindictive, entitled, insecure bitch, better known as a journalist's way of trying to corner her and get her in a gotcha moment, or to go and do some far-left, parasitic denouncement of some people over a pun in a commercial she did. And the other being Jennifer Lawrence in a recent appearance where she's trying to both simultaneously apologize for having been so political, only to have contradict herself by talking about how some movie that is a violent far-left fantasy is something that was great and how we should aspire to actually engage in far-left political violence. Yes, yes, yes. In case you're wondering what I mean by Sydney Sweeney, who somebody that had been acting from a small child, had already gone through all those early things of bit parts in, student short films, and then getting your screen debut in a little horror movie, and working through whatever little things and little roles you can get from there, until eventually she found her way into a show where she was there to be modern, femme-scold, Hollywood TV writing's excuse to both simultaneously get a young actress naked for the horny white straight male producers on HBO, but then be able to get away with that by Trojan horsing it as some deconstruction of the blonde cheerleader window. It's just an excuse for a bunch of miserable feminists who all subscribe to the Andrea Dworkin view of the world to get revenge on the pretty blonde cheerleader. But in spite of all of that, and the show's main goal of trying to artificially manipulate the idea of Zendaya being a star who's some great actress, and despite all the prefabricated Emmy wins, her career is more and more blatantly engineered than Jennifer Lawrence's stardom was in 2012, while that blonde cheerleader that they were all wanting to hate on the show and treat her as an object of misery and pain, pretending that they're such empathetic people when they just want to see a pretty blonde suffer for the crime of being more attractive and popular than the writers were in high school. Middle Miss Sydney Sweeney is the one who's actually earned a level of stardom by actually being things that people wanted to see in their movie stars. Her being the kind of person that is actually out there naturally as the appealing leading lady who does the public appearances where there she is actually, entertaining an audience, and being the kind of person that more and more people out there would want to see. Compare that to Jennifer Lawrence, who, when you remember her little rise to fame, that definitely had a lot more to do with Harvey Weinstein being given what he wanted out of her. Take a good long look at how else would you expect an actress who within, an 18-month stretch goes from being grateful to play the daughter on a TBS sitcom that was a vehicle for one of the blue-collar comedy guys, to now suddenly being Oscar-nominated in pensive little indie films. That was a little dry run for her then, as she still didn't quite have as much clout there, but had been getting parts like that, although nowhere near as big as they would be later. She's grateful to be a supporting role in an X-Men prequel. And then within a year of going from grateful for an X-Men prequel and some little Oscar-nominated indie drama, now suddenly you are supposed to be the biggest, greatest thing ever, and every single bit of gossip mongering and Hollywood talk is all about how you are the greatest actress in the world, and how, oh my god, look at how relatable and down to earth she is. When if you really look at it, the constant performative stupidity of how she was such a great down-to-earth cool girl, oh, she eats fatty foods and there she is drinking and partying. No, that's less of her, coming off as some type of relatable person, and no, it comes off more like a drunken, slutty Hollywood feminist screenwriter's idea of what the hot cool girl is supposed to be like. Basically, Amy Schumer, if she somehow was still able to behave the type of hot blonde that dudes would have wanted to sleep without being drunk or high off their ass at a college frat party, which is something Amy Schumer could never be able to relate to at all whatsoever. While Sydney Sweeney, on the other hand, maybe it's a matter of her coming up in the time after Weinstein's downfall, but if you don't think that there's still people out there that are not getting some type of push into stardom that they don't really deserve, but they clearly have the right agent and the right producers in their midst generating things for them artificially, just take a good long look back at Euphoria and what I said about Zendaya. Sweeney is all actual appeal and actual stardom and actually entertaining. While you get those types like Jennifer Lawrence, where it was an awful lot of hype, and the cool girl shtick was the most acting that she ever did in her entire life. And now you see why one actually is able to, stay on quote-unquote brand and be able to entertain people and consistently get them interested in what it is she's doing or saying. And let's also lament how you have Sydney Sweeney, who has repeatedly done things, and by things I mean film roles, that would be the kind of crap that would be like catnip for woke freaks who can't stop gooning to whatever Tumblr fanfiction that Hollywood of the modern era is supposed to be putting out and calling it movies. Considering that she also started and produced a horror film that's all, if you remember the movie Immaculate, that was all one giant, this wouldn't have happened if she would have just had an abortion parable. And then let's not forget about the HBO movie where Sweeney plays a journalist who then goes out into the world finding the truth about Russia collusion. Yeah, that fucking Fantasia. Almost as big of a goddamn lie as Jennifer Lawrence's acting talent and her relatable personality. And let's also not forget her currently now, in these past months, out there promoting everywhere she can, from NASCAR events to international film festivals, of the biopic on Christy Martin where she is starring in her big making herself look ugly and playing lesbian for a Oscar nomination. And yet you'd think a part like that would be something that would lead to all of those TikTok feminists and Tumblr gooners wanting to worship the ground she's walking on. But because she's the type of attractive blonde that embraces her beauty and embraces the fact that straight white men like to see her in things, as opposed to screaming about it and hating it the way that they were able to successfully mind game Margot Robbie into hating her appearance and spend years upon years of doing make myself look ugly to keep feminists happy Oscar bait roles that don't wind up getting her any Oscars, and then also while quietly doing a role or two every few years or so where she remembers that she got her stardom based on looking hot and being a background object, while actually established leading men do all the acting for you. Just watch the Barbie movie. Now you see why. Exactly. It's not a matter of what it is you do, it's a matter of you have to be absolutely positively uniformly in line, which is something that Sydney Sweeney is not, despite those type of roles, despite her being involved in things like that, like say Euphoria, or in that crap like Immaculate, and how now her, the actress who is all about parading the latest film role where she is playing this great inspiring woman, and how this person's life story inspired her so much. Nope, sorry, we're gonna have some conniving, cum-guzzling intestinal parasite known as a journalist try to corner you over a jeans commercial with a pun in it, and you go and are able to verbally, intellectually, and spiritually corner that bitch and hit her ass with a rock bottom. You took that question of hers, rolled it up nice and tight, turned that sumbitch sideways, and stuck it straight up her candy ass. While Jennifer Lawrence was too busy spending her 20s letting Harvey Weinstein and David O. Russell take turns with her candy ass. So maybe now you know why a resentful bitch like her, who has to blame men for all the failings she did, being a casting couch hooker who's now worn out her welcome, while she's still got people in her PR department that will give her podcast appearance bullshit copium excuses for how her career nowhere near was as interesting as it was made out to be. Well, I mean, now you know why delusional rich bitches like her are going to try to apologize, but also make sure that they still keep on calling for violent left-wing revolution. And that's not my opinion. I know I'm right. So I want to thank you all for watching. Subscribe to the channel, hit 10,000 subs, become a member today, and shop at my art store with the second link below, where you will find these prints for my upcoming comic Encrypted. There are 67 remaining of them that are all signed and numbered by yours truly. They are $15 a piece, and selling these out will go to printing issue 1, and the pre-order for issue 1 will be made available on this upcoming Black Friday. So until then, felines, slam it, lick it, suck it, and see you, Space Cowboy.